So when you installed first time, you have to configure only two things. One is username configuration, user mail ID configuration. These two things you have to configure in Git by applying this command. Okay guys, now as I discussed here, we are working on the distributed environment. So there is a centralized or remote repository available that needs to be clone each developer environment. So now we have to set up this remote repository. Where we can set up this remote repository? Just assume you guys are 10 members. You guys are the developers. Different locations are working. Maybe my application, my project is US project. Some guys working in from US, some guys working from India, some guys from the Singapore, some guys from Australia. So different countries, different regions, all developers are working in a same application. Just assume that. But even though I have to manage all developers work, all developers code in a same location. For that only we are creating a repository. That repository we should place in a dedicated server that should be given access to the each and every developer. Everyone should access that repository. In that server we have to place. Here we don't have any such a infrastructure to place the remote repository. So is there any option? Yes, there is a option. Such a big issue managing dedicated servers for the remote repositories because of its a budget perspective. If you maintain that repository in a dedicated server, what happened? You can see the maintenance of the repository means that server is very costly, maybe 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs. Not only the server, once you place the remote repository, it should be required the server management 24/7. Three resources are required. So they should keep watching that server up and running. So resources are very costly, maybe 60,000 to 1 lakh each resource expenses. It comes to 3 lakhs per month managing that repository. And another thing, you have to keep that server in a separate room, and you should maintain the backup, power backup, and so data backup and firewalls also. These are very costly. Again, it comes to the 2 lakhs per month managing that repository. On and around 5 lakhs I have to spend to managing my repository. Instead of that, there is some service providers available in the market. So they will give you some space to manage your repository in a cloud environment. So dedicatedly they will provide service for the repository management. They have a cloud infrastructure for only managing the repositories. There you can get a repository for 2000 cost per month per user, or maybe you can get a repository for 500 rupees also per user license. So how minimized are expenses? If at all you are managing the repository in our dedicated server, it comes to the 5 lakhs. And now if you keep your repository in a cloud environment, it comes to 1000, 2000, maybe you even our 20 developers working. If you get the 20 developers access, there is an unlimited option also there. It should not more than 15 to 20,000 per month, or 10,000 to 50,000 per month. It should not be reached even in unlimited users also. So how much minimized in the cloud environment? It's very minimal cost and budget perspective. For that reason, nowadays all projects are migrating their repository management into cloud environment. Who are cloud providers available in the market? So there are cloud providers in the market. First most GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab. There are three cloud providers available in the market. So you can purchase space in that cloud. Even there is a one beautiful option given by each cloud provider. You can create a free account. You can create a free account, and you can get a one, and you can manage your repositories in that free account also. So how long they will provide the free account? For GitHub, they will give you free account forever. Then why should I go for the licensed version? If they will give free account, why should I go? In free account there are two options. One is private and second one is the public. Free account, they will give you public account, only for public. The public account anyone can access. If you keep your repository publicly, someone knows your path, they can clone your data, they can theft your code. If at all, if you take a private repository, then it's very secured. No one can access without your permission. So that's the way they are managing public repositories and private repositories. For free account, you have to create a public account only, not a private account. For paid account, so you can get the private account, so it's very secured, so no one can access. In Bitbucket, you can create both either public and private, but they will give you access for 1 year only. A specific period they will give you so account. GitLab also same. Now I would like to create a one repository in GitHub account. Let me open GitHub account. So very simple. You can also create parallelly GitHub account, github.com. Perfect. Okay. When I entered github.com, you can find this screen. So here you can see sign in option. If at all you have account, you just choose the sign in option. If you don't have account, either you go for sign up option, or the same sign up you can so do from these three options that can be available here. Sign up for GitHub. Very simple sign up option. Only three things you need to provide. Those are the unique. Username should be unique. So give unique username If at all existing already it's there, something name you given, so it will not allow. So give unique name, like how you are creating your Gmail account, the same way you give the username, then give something email ID, then password. So when you sign up, you will receive a mail. Just click on that mail to activate, then your GitHub account is active. So once you created a GitHub account, very simple option. Everyone, I'm asking you to create everyone. So once you created, sign in. So this is my GitHub account. I'm going to log in. Done. Successfully I logged inside my account. So here you can see how many repositories still I placed. Your repositories, 26 repositories. So these are all our existing repositories. 26 repositories are there. I would like to create a new repository. Click on new repository option. So here, very simple option, only few options, 2-3 options only available to create your own repository in cloud environment. This is the cloud. You, if at all, if I give you access for this repository, you can able to access in your machine also. Only network is required, internet connection is required. So I'm going to create batch number 30. So what is the description? Online batch. So here there is two options, public and private. So default it has public. If you want to go for the private, it will ask you your credit card or PayPal account details to pay the amount. So this is the licensed version. I don't want to go. I will choose only public account. So after that, initialize the repository with the readme file. So once repository is created, by default, so it will give us a one file called readme file for sample. So I don't want to create a empty repository. Along with the repository, I want to create a readme file. For that, I am just checking this option. And finally, create repository. Very simple. I successfully created a repository. So here, batch number 30 repository. And these are few options: issues, pull request, projects, wiki, settings, insight. And here, one commit, one branch, release, zero release, one contributor. Some few options we'll discuss slowly one by one. And here you can see the branch, default branch is, when you create a repository, it will give us one default branch that is called master branch. Always do remember. So when you create a repository, you will get a default branch called master branch. Okay, so here readme file is there. My repository is not empty. So I checked in one option called initialized one file called readme. So that's the way, that's the reason it created one file for me in this repository that was happened in 2 minutes ago. And here you can able to see some few options: create, update, find file, along with some green color, a specific so emphasize one option, that is the clone or download. Click on that. This is your repository URL. Select that and copy that repository URL. Okay, and come back to your local machine. Okay, so what is my intention here? Just keep observe very carefully. My infrastructure in a distributed environment, there is a remote repository should be available. Just now I created a one remote repository in cloud environment, GitHub account. I created the same repository in the GitHub cloud environment. So I finished this remote repository creation part. Now, as a developer, I would like to clone in my local. Why? Because I cannot work directly with the remote repository. I have to clone. I want to get the same snapshot in my local. Then I can work on that repository. After that, I can sync updates to the remote repository. This is the approach for the distributed environment. So now I finished to create a remote repository. So now let me create a local repository. How do I get the same remote repository in my local? So open specific location. So I will go to here. I want to create a one folder for a batch batch 30. I just created empty folder, batch 30, empty folder. So here right click and you can find a git bash here. You can find git bash here. Click on that. Your git bash opens in specific path of our batch 30. So earlier I opened from the desktop. It will show till desktop itself. You have to reach this path because I want to clone and I want to work. So my version control process in this path. So that reason you have to reach this path. So now I am into the batch 30. So use git clone option to clone the same remote repository in our local. What is the command? Git clone and use the URL. Get this URL, copy, and comes to here, paste. Git clone URL, enter. Now started cloning and successfully cloned in my local. Let's check. Now earlier batch 30 was empty. Now so batch 30 seems to one. It has a one folder, that is the batch 30 repository. This is called a repository. Don't think about the repository is the different. Repository is the terminology where we can place all consolidated code in a one place. So repository is just a simple terminology. In version control system, we are using that terminology repository. Repository is nothing but a folder. In a folder we can place our required files. In a repository also we can place relevant code. So this is my repository. I can say this is my local repository. Enter inside, you can see .git folder along with the readme file. Right. So come back to here. I cloned repository, but I did not enter inside. So verify using ls command. You can able to see batch 30 folder or the batch 30 repository. cd batch 30. When you enter inside the repository, surprise thing you can see here, a master branch. That is only the difference between the repository and a normal folder. If you look here, it looks as a normal folder. So you cannot find any difference of the repository and the normal folder. If you enter inside here, so I'm coming back again. So this batch 30 is also a folder, but normally the folder looks the same. So batch 30 the same folder name. When you enter inside the repository, so it will show you a branch name. What is the default branch here? Default branch is the master branch. So now I have created a remote repository in GitHub cloud environment. I cloned the same repository in my local. So now I can work with my local repository, and that can be syncing with the remote repository. My setup has done very simple. If you created a remote repository, if you created a GitHub account, then I can able to give you access. So my request, everyone should create a GitHub account. Give me that username or user ID, then I will give you access to my repository. You can able to clone in our local my remote repository. Then consolidately all together, all developers can be work together. Okay. Now this part has done. Okay. So this is the remote repository, and this is my local repository. I cloned in my local. Again, my local repository architecture. If you look local repository architecture, so my local repository has 3 stages. Stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. Stage 1, we can say workspace. Stage 2, we can say staging area or staging area or index area. And here final thing is the local repo. So carefully listen here. My architecture has one remote repository that already I have placed in cloud GitHub account, and I clone it in my local. This is my local copy. Again, my local copy has 3 stages. One is workspace, second one is the staging area, or index area, and third one is local repo. When I do any changes in my repository, by default, that changes can be available in my workspace. I want to bring those changes into the staging area. I want to commit those changes from staging area to local repo. Then I need to push the changes from local repo to remote repo. This is the flow happening with the two repositories. What is the flow? First, inside the repository, as a developer, I do some changes or I implemented some code. That changes can be available in our workspace by default. So you have to bring the changes from workspace to staging area by using some commands. Once my changes are in staging area, so if we have to commit those changes into local repository. For that we have to apply another command. Since my changes are reached to the local repo, then you can sync with your remote repository and your changes can be updated to the remote repository. This is the way of flow your each change reaching to the remote repository. Good. So that you cannot visualize here with the different stages. So here it looks only console output. How would I see visualize or how would I visualize what stages are there? You cannot see. How would I know then my changes are in workspace or my changes are in staging area or my changes are reached to the local repo? How would I know? Everything can be happen through commands only. That commands we are going to learn. So the first command I'll give you git status. This command showing the changes information available either in workspace or staging area. If at all any changes available in workspace, definitely it will show you here these are the changes are available in workspace. These are the changes are available in our staging area. It will show you in git status command. Now git status showing working tree clean. It means no changes are there in workspace or staging area. How would I introduce any change in my repository? Open that repository batch 30. So I would like to create a one folder or I would like to create a one file. As a developer, I'm going to implement a one file code.c file. So everyone get idea about have idea C language. So I'm writing a C program. As a developer, I am developing some code for my application. Just assume that. Int a comma b comma c, something a equals to 10, something b equals to 20, c equals to a plus b printf addition of two numbers equals to done. I saved. So directly I created a one file. So I've written here some code. Come back to in our console output. Now check the status. What happened? Your status is saying there are some untracked files are available. That file is code.c. It is showing some changes are there. If the change is showing in red color, that is symbolic, that change relevant to workspace. If change is showing in green color, symbolically that change is relevant to staging area. Do remember, red color for workspace change, green color for staging area change. How would I bring change into my staging area? Everything based on commands only. Here you have to apply command git add file name code.c. Now check the status. Now status is showing in green color. Some changes happened and it's to be committed. So the change is the code.c. It is showing in green color. That symbolically indicates this change belongs to staging area. Git commit. I'll tell you clearly one by one again. So my first commit done. Now check the status. No change available. No change available in any of the stage. So working tree looks clean. No change available in workspace. No change available in workspace or no change available in staging area also. It looks so working tree clean. So I introduced a change. I developed some code default that will be available in workspace. So I brought that code into I brought that change into staging area and I committed that change into the local repo. So now my change available in my local repo. How would I check? Git log. So let me clean the screen. Git log. Now you can able to see this is my change information with metadata. Who committed? Other name with the mail ID. When it was happened with the timestamp. What commit message I given. And for each commit, so there is a ID, a unique ID. So earlier by default when I created a repository, that time itself it created a one commit or one change. After that I made the commit, so this is my commit. So this change available in my local only, but not available in remote repository. So git push command. When you push, here only one commit I have. Now I introduced some change in my local and I pushed it into the remote repository. So just refresh it. Now you can see there is a two commits, and you can see code.c file also available in remote repository. So if you press on the commit option, you can see this is my commit message, my first commit. Who's committed? Sudhakar committed 3 minutes ago. Okay. In such a way, we can work with the remote repository from your local. Any doubts, guys? We'll explain detailed. So one by one, staging area, workspace, and local repo, and push options, and everything tomorrow session. So thank you, guys. Closing today's session. Any doubts? Let me know.
Yeah, Sudhakar, I have one question here. The
Yes.
repository which you created right in your Git core repository.
Correct.
So can it be of any language? Because I can see the program created is in C, right?
Hmm.
So can it support multiple languages? For suppose you have created a repository in Java code, and later I tried to commit another program. I mean, can it support that way?
Anything. It is not relevant to any specific language. Irrespective of the language, you can do it. Not only for the programming language. You can so somebody's are working their repositories for the documents upload only
Okay.
documents. They will keep their documents only. For that purpose they created they will create repositories.
Yeah, it's something like a Dropbox also, right? Where
Yes,
whatever we update in our local, it
yes,
reflect there in the
yes.
Dropbox
The
account.
concept is like we have to keep all developers code in a one place. It doesn't mean so whether you are working in the C language or PHP or HTML or .NET. So irrespective of the language, you can so push your code or changes.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and Sudhakar, whatever we made at local, it reflect in the server repository,
Correct.
and the server repository is only for maintaining the codes only, right? And and our local application won't interact with the server, right? It interact to the local our server codes and run the application,
Not
or it interacts to the server also.
sorry.
Means if there is any application where it has 100 codes
Hmm.
and we are running say ICICI Bank the
Hmm.
web page,
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
the code is there in the server repository as well as the local one. So
Hmm.
when the person is running that application, if I open ICICI.com,
Hmm.
where the code will pick from the server or the local one, means local
So,
to the bank.
so that part we had a discussion early session. How what is the process for that? So here just assume developer box. All developers are developing the code. The code always available in a repositories. These all developers are connected to repository and the application code available always in a repository. After that, the code is in the high level language not compiled. Using some of the build script, we can compile the code and we will get a final output jar file or war file or er file or tar file or gif file. That output we can place into a specific build server or cloud environment. So my final output available in a specific build server or some binary repository. So here my final output is available, either maybe jar file or war file. My final output file available here, since there I can deploy into my servers. So maybe if at all you want to deploy locally lower environments for testing in our local before live, you can deploy this final output into local lower environments such a dev environment, and you can deploy QA environment, and you can deploy staging environment. Finally, you can deploy into production. Once you deploy it into the production, this is the different infrastructure, then your application is live. Anywhere can access. It's no more relevant your source code management to your live environment. It's completely indifferent managing. But the basic concept that deployment is happening through your source code only. From the source code, I will take the output and I will deploy into the production once tested in local environments.
Okay,
Understood?
got you, got you. Yeah, I got you.
Okay, guys.
What if any changes happen? Let's say if I come across some issues in testing phase and the developer needs to fix that code. So
Hmm.
do you need to go through complete cycle again? Like, I mean, it needs to be fixed in this code repository,
Yes,
and
yes,
then the code has to be uploaded to the
yes.
cloud again.
Yes, once the testers find any issues in test environment, they will raise a again defect. Again, they will open the defect for the so development. They will once defect is opened, that will be assigned to the developers. Again, they will start working on the defect fixing. So that will be again produced into the repository. Again, we will get a build. That build will be so again deployed into the testing environment. Then they will start testing. If at all again they found new issues, again they will reopen the issues. That will be assigned to the developers. Again they will start working on that. Again they introduce those fixes into the repository. Again we will take the build. Again we will push into the repository, bind the repository. Again we do the deployment to lower environments. Once tested is passed, then we will deploy into the live environment. This is cycle happening. Any doubts,
Okay,
guys?
got it.
Thank you. Closing today's session. So see you tomorrow, guys.
Thank you.